Again, everyone, achieve section 2.2, number 12. We're to estimate this limit here. This is a one-sided limit. The limit as x approaches 0 from the negative side of this expression. And we want to, do that numerically. So again, when you're dealing with a trig function, you do need to make sure that your mode is in radians, all right, for trig functions. And then I want to show you how to enter this function in. I've got a newer model, TI-84 Plus C Silver Edition. You might have an older model that has the older operating system, and I want to talk about the difference between the two here. So I'm going to, I'll go and put it in parentheses. Don't technically have to in the numerator because it's going to do multiplication division left to right, but I'll go ahead and do that in parentheses 5 times, and you could do actually times. If you don't put times and just do sign, it will it will assume multiplication there. But if you want to be careful, you can do times sine of x, close the parentheses on the sign, close parentheses on the numerator. So there's our numerator divided by, and then, right, I need to put the denominator in parentheses. I do have to do that because if it's going left to right, it would divide by 3 and then multiply by the absolute value of x, and you want it to multiply by 3 times the absolute value of x. So 3 times, now how do we do the absolute value of x in the calculator? If you go to the math button here, okay, and over to NUM across the top, just push to the right, you'll see the absolute value command ABS. Okay, now in the newer models, when I type 1 or hit enter, it'll copy that command here. And in the newer models, it looks like the absolute value bars, and then you put in the middle there, of course, you're going to type X for the middle there. For those of you that have the older model, it will still say ABS in parentheses, you'll put the X. Okay, and that will be the absolute value of X. So now I'm going to scroll over here and close my parentheses for the denominator. And there is my expression. Again, I'll go to the table setup to make sure I'm in ask mode for my independent variable, dependent variable in auto mode. Go to the table, and I already have these negative values from a previous problem I was doing. And so I'm going to approach 0 from the negative side. So that means like negative 0.1, negative 0.01, negative 0.001. Now, when I look at the table here, I see 2 values there. Let me go and delete these other ones because we don't need them. They look the same, is that true? Well, it might be better to go ahead and move your cursor over there to the number. It'll highlight it. They're truncated because of the width of the column. If you go to the bottom, the number highlight here's the actual, and that's what I went ahead and carried it out to, I think, 7 decimal places here. I know it says only round to 3, but you need to do more decimal places in general in order to round. So I want to see everything, what's going on there. When I get to the negative 0.01, the output rounded off to 3 decimal places is that, but there's the actual next thing. Sometimes on a test or something or quiz, I might ask you to round values in the table to 5 decimal places, right? How are you going to do that? You're going to have to highlight it and see what's down there. Okay, and then of course at negative 0.001 we have this. Got to count all those 6s up. Notice I rounded off to 4 because it's the 8 rounds that 3 up to a 4. Right, rounding rules. At any rate, we don't really necessarily need to go all that way to round to 3 decimal places, but I did, of course, to 3 decimal places. Then, all right, 1, 2, this 6 here, we'll round that 6 up to a 7. And think about the trend, right? These are getting more negative, right? More negative. So it wouldn't be negative 1.666 because that is less negative, right? That would be back here somewhere. So these are getting more negative, and so the trend is getting closer and closer to something like this. Okay, so there's our estimate for this limit numerically. And again, hope that helps.